Nothing about deep-sea creatures is normal. Here's why. There is a place on Earth where light has never existed, where the pressure would crush you instantly, and yet life thrives. A place so alien that scientists who study it often say the same thing. It feels more like visiting another planet than exploring our own. And yet it's here, right beneath us. The deep ocean. And the creatures that live there are not like us. Nothing about them is normal. And tonight, we're going to understand why. When we think of life on Earth, we think of sunlight, of warmth, of oxygen, of rhythms we can feel. But there is an entire realm where none of that exists. A place that begins around 200 meters below the surface and descends for miles. The deep sea. And down there, the rules are different, because sunlight doesn't reach the deep ocean. It fades completely after about 1,000 meters, which means that for most of the ocean, there has never been a sunrise, just endless, absolute darkness. And in that darkness, pressures build. At 2,000 meters, the weight of the water above you is roughly 200 times the atmospheric pressure at sea level. At 4,000 meters, it's 400 times. Your body would collapse, your lungs would implode, bones would fracture under the force. But life doesn't collapse down there. It adapts. And the creatures that have adapted to this world have done so in ways that challenge everything we thought we knew about biology. On the surface, nearly all life depends on the sun. Plants convert sunlight into energy. Animals eat plants. Predators eat animals. It's a chain, a pyramid, a system built on photosynthesis. But in the deep sea, there are no plants, no algae, no coral reefs bathed in light. So the question becomes, what do they eat? First, they eat what falls. Everything that dies near the surface eventually sinks. Fish, plankton, whales. This slow, drifting rain of organic material is called marine snow, and for many deep-sea creatures, it's their only source of food. But marine snow is unpredictable and sparse. So deep-sea animals have learned to survive on almost nothing. Their metabolisms are extraordinarily slow. Some fish can go months without eating. Their bodies are soft, gelatinous, lightweight, because building muscle and bone requires energy they don't have. They drift, they wait, they conserve. But there's a second answer, and it's even stranger. Because in some parts of the deep ocean, life doesn't depend on the sun at all. It depends on the Earth itself. At hydrothermal vents, superheated water erupts from cracks in the ocean floor, carrying with it chemicals like hydrogen sulfide. And there are bacteria down there that can convert those chemicals into energy, not through photosynthesis, but through chemosynthesis. These bacteria form the base of an entirely separate food web, one that exists in complete independence from the sun. Giant tube worms cluster around these vents, hosting billions of bacteria inside their bodies. Blind shrimp swarm in the toxic plumes, and it all happens in darkness, in heat, in conditions that would kill almost anything else. But to these creatures, it's home. If you could see a deep-sea creature in full light, you would notice something immediately. They don't look like the animals we're used to. Their bodies are strange, asymmetrical, fragile, and that's because they've been shaped by forces we rarely think about. Pressure, for one. At extreme depths, air pockets like lungs, swim bladders, and hollow bones would be crushed instantly. so deep-sea fish have evolved without them. Many have no swim bladder at all. Instead, their bodies are filled with water and gel-like tissues that are incompressible. They don't fight the pressure, they equalize it. Some, like the blobfish, are almost entirely gelatinous. On the surface, removed from that pressure, they collapse into shapeless masses. But down there, they're perfectly suited. Then there's the issue of sight. In absolute darkness, eyes become complicated. Some species have lost their eyes entirely. Others have evolved enormous eyes that take up half their skull, designed to capture the faintest traces of bioluminescence. The barrel-eye fish has a transparent, dome-shaped head. Its eyes are inside that dome, pointing upward, scanning the water above for the silhouettes of prey. And then there are the mouths. Because food is so scarce in the deep sea, predators can't afford to be picky. So many have evolved jaws that can unhinge and stomachs that can stretch, teeth that angle backward, ensuring that anything caught stays caught. The gulper eel has a mouth larger than its entire body. The fangtooth has teeth so long they don't fit inside its mouth. The black swallower can consume prey twice its own size and digest it slowly over weeks. These aren't monsters. They're solutions, elegant and efficient answers to an environment where every meal might be your last for months. In a world without sunlight, creatures have learned to make their own. Bioluminescence, the ability to produce light through chemical reactions inside the body. And in the deep sea, it's everywhere. Some estimates suggest that up to 90% of deep-sea creatures are bioluminescent. They glow, they flash, they signal, but not for beauty, for survival. Some use it to hunt. The anglerfish, for instance, dangles a glowing lure in front of its mouth. In the darkness, smaller fish are drawn to the light, mistaking it for prey or perhaps for other bioluminescent organisms they feed on. And when they get close enough, the anglerfish strikes. Others use light to hide. Certain squid and fish have light-producing cells on their undersides called photophores. They match the faint glow of sunlight filtering down from above, erasing their silhouette. To a predator looking up from below, they become invisible. It's called counter-illumination, and it's one of the most elegant forms of camouflage in nature. Then there's communication. Because in the deep sea, sound doesn't travel the way it does on land, and sight is limited. So, light becomes language. Some species flash in patterns to attract mates, others pulse to warn rivals. The firefly squid, which migrates to the surface at night, lights up its entire body in waves of blue. Thousands of them together, glowing in the dark water. We don't know exactly why, but we know it's intentional and controlled. Bioluminescence isn't just a tool. It's a solution to isolation, a way to communicate, to survive, to exist in a place where almost nothing else works. One of the strangest things about the deep sea is how slowly everything happens. On the surface, life is fast. Predators chase, prey flee, seasons change. But in the deep, time stretches. Because energy is so limited, deep-sea creatures live their lives in slow motion. The Greenland shark, which lives in the deep Arctic waters, is one of the longest-living vertebrates on Earth. Some are estimated to be over 400 years old. They don't reach sexual maturity until they're around 150. Their metabolism is so slow that they move through the water like shadows, barely hunting, barely living, just existing. Then there's the deep-sea octopus. In shallow water, octopuses live for a year or two at most. But one species was observed guarding her eggs for over 4 years. 4 years, without eating, without leaving, just waiting. It's the longest brooding period ever recorded for any animal, and when the eggs finally hatched, she died. This is what survival looks like when food is scarce and time is irrelevant. You don't rush, you endure. Here's something worth pausing on. We've explored more of the surface of the moon than we have of our own ocean floor. Less than 20% of the deep sea has been mapped, and of that 20%, only a fraction has been truly explored, which means that most of the creatures we've talked about tonight were discovered in just the last few decades, and there are likely thousands more we've never seen. The deep ocean isn't just unexplored. It's unknowable in a way that's hard to accept, because it's right here, on our planet. And yet it might as well be another world, and that raises a question. If life can thrive in conditions this extreme, in darkness, in crushing pressure, in near-freezing water with almost no oxygen, then where else might life exist? The deep sea isn't just teaching us about Earth. It's teaching us about the possibilities of life itself. It's easy to think of the deep sea as separate from us, distant, a place that has nothing to do with our lives on the surface. But that's not true. The deep ocean regulates our climate. It absorbs carbon dioxide. It stores heat. It drives ocean currents that affect weather patterns across the entire planet. And the creatures that live there play a role in that. When marine snow sinks to the ocean floor, it carries carbon with it. Carbon that would otherwise remain in the atmosphere. This process, called the biological pump, is one of the planet's natural ways of regulating greenhouse gases. Then there's the question of science and medicine, because extreme environments produce extreme adaptations, and those adaptations sometimes hold answers. Enzymes from deep-sea bacteria, the kind that thrive near hydrothermal vents, are now used in laboratories around the world. They're stable at high temperatures and can function in conditions that would destroy most biological molecules. They've been essential in developing techniques like PCR, the process used to amplify DNA. The same process that made COVID testing possible, that came from studying life in the deep sea. So when we explore these places, we're not just satisfying curiosity, we're learning things that could change how we live, how we heal, how we survive. So here's where we are. Right now, as you listen to this, there are creatures living miles below the surface of the ocean, in darkness so complete that they've never known anything else, in pressure so intense that it would obliterate us, in cold so deep that it would stop our hearts. And yet they're alive, not just surviving, thriving, living entire lives we'll never witness, communicating in languages we don't speak, evolving in ways we're only beginning to understand. And maybe that's exactly as it should be, because some things are beautiful precisely because they remain unknown. The deep sea is one of them, and the creatures that call it home are proof that life will always find a way, even in the dark, especially in the dark.